How you doing? This is Solomon from Green Ideas and Wellness LLC, and we are here with Dr. Karen Korn. How you doing today?
Great to see you.
She's
Thanks for coming.
representing Leaf Medics. Advocating the best in the biz. Green Ideas and Wellness. Check it out. So, what's the name of your company and what type of things do you guys offer?
So Leaf Medic is a training company, training and educational company. It's a school, actually, licensed both in Ohio and in Michigan. And so our school is overseen by the Ohio State Board of Career Colleges and Schools, and that's the board in Ohio that oversees trade schools and vocational schools. And so what we did was we created a deliverable online dispensary training program for people who would want to work in dispensaries. We've also been licensed in Michigan and are approved by LARA, the administrative body in their state, to be a licensed vocational school there as well. So we've built 2 curricula, one for Ohio and one for Michigan, tailored to each of their programs that teaches all of the foundational requirements somebody would need to know to work in a dispensary, and then each program is tailored to meet the regulatory requirements and to teach the regulatory requirements per each program.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Karen, what is your first personal mention of cannabis in your life that inspires you to get involved into this type of work?
So I was not the typical teenage kid that loves cannabis. I tried it a couple times in adolescence, and I had some of those negative side effects that we hear people talk about who are new users. I had some heart racing, some paranoia, and some, forgetfulness, and I did not like the feeling. So I wasn't really an avid user. I mean, I maybe partook a couple of more times, but it just wasn't my thing. But then in my late 30s, early 40s, I started to develop some problems with pain, and I went in pursuit of understanding of what was going on with my body. And to kind of make a long story short, I eventually was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and subsequently Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a collagen disorder, a connective tissue disorder.
Okay.
And it's genetic, and I've been fortunate that in a lot of people who have it, they are very good at things like ballet or gymnastics, and they're very flexible and mobile. And so
at younger ages.
Yes, at younger ages. I was going to say, so it seems like an asset, and then as you get into later years, it becomes a detriment because something that hurts you. So I was trying to deal with this chronic pain and work full time. I had a role as the academic head of a graphic design college in Kettering. Okay. And so I was very busy. And all of the medications I was trying to sort of piece together to manage this pain were having deleterious effects on my body, like GERD, stomach ulcers, things like that. And so I was like, man, this is not something I can keep up. I'm only 47, 48 years old. So earlier in my early 40s, I started my relationship with my current husband because I had divorced my first husband. And my husband had been a sort of closeted cannabis user most of his life to manage some chronic back pain that he sustained, an injury that in his early, I think 19 even, that he damaged his back. And so he's been kind of secretly using that most of his adult life. So he was like, well, I really think you should try this again. And so he was very patient with me. And I have tremendous appreciation of all of his tender care for my times that I didn't have a great experience with it, or just making sure that everything was good with me when I was using it. And
so
I feel like,
he was, not to cut you, but he was silently educating you to how to use it in a proper form. Yep. Without even knowing it.
Exactly. He was just so patient, and I was like, wow, this is now something that I can figure out because of some friends of mine also who are patients, helping me along the way as well, kind of teaching me some different methods of administration that I could try so that I wasn't like smoking a blunt before I went into work or something. Which ended up, is ironic, I ended up losing my job at one point because of smelling like cannabis, and I to this day I can't quite figure out what it was that I smelled like or how I smelled, because it wasn't that I had smoked and gone into my workplace, but I was, I lost my job because someone reported that I smelled like cannabis, and then there was no drug testing or no searching of me, and I didn't have it on the
It was
campus.
just inferred, and that was it.
Yes,
when
and
it came down to it.
that I think was a very pivotal moment. I know that sounds weird. The positive sort of entry point for cannabis for me was that it was an amazing pain reliever that was also healing. It healed my GERD. All of my intestinal issues were gone when I got rid of those meds and I added cannabis. Like, I think most patients can tell you all of these little miniature, granular details of their transformation. And so for me, that was the positive. Was it was going to change my life. I was going to be able to be functional and not caught up in chasing side effects from pharmaceutical medications. But the negative was that it's legal in Ohio. This was, I lost my job in 2017.
Okay.
So it was actually after the law was passed.
Right, so it just was right on the cusp. Wow.
But even then, you are not required to permit somebody to work for you if they're a medical cannabis patient. You can discharge them from employment because it's an at-will employment state, and there's no protections for employees in Ohio.
Pay attention to what she's saying, folks. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, there are no protections for you. So unless if your employer distinctly says that they are not drug testing for THC content in your body, and that is not something that they will, view as being a fireable offense, you need to make sure that you take care of that, because I didn't have an opportunity to prove that I was or was not high or had it on me or anything. There was no like, oh well, we'll have a meeting or no. So so that was part of the reason why I jumped into the industry, because I was like, wow, this is a new industry, but it has a lot of room to grow, and there's a lot of education that's needed, and I have a PhD in education, so I was like, oh. Here, that was kind of that personal, emotional motivation to jump in. So.
All right. Now that definitely speaks volumes to just the learning aspect of it, because it took you that long to learn, what it does to help you as well.
The training and education for cannabis in all of the facets of that space are behind other industries because of the legality issues that are involved. So, in other parts of the United States, there are universities that teach all facets of the industry. Here in Ohio, we have Cleveland School of Cannabis, and they do have programs that are related to the different facets of the industry as well. But they have not created a program that's specifically designed to train people to work in dispensaries with a, certificate associated with that's tied directly to the Marijuana Control Board, which is the Pharmacy Board of Ohio. So what we did with our training was we had it submitted to them, they reviewed it, and then they designated it as appropriate for that entry level into the industry. In Ohio, I believe Hocking College has a license for their lab testing, and they're going to, and I think they may have launched this fall, like a chemistry laboratory testing program. Okay. I may be misspeaking there, but I think that's the program that they have. And I know that with hemp launching in Ohio, OSU's Ag Extension and other agricultural programs in the state are going to definitely jump on board with the cultivation piece of that. One of the things we're working on is a similar program to our dispensary training curriculum that's designed for the hemp CBD processing industry here in Ohio.
Nice.
That's about to launch, and we're doing that so that people can jump in quickly and demonstrate that they have, training. We're partnering with companies like Apex Supercritical, who produce the machines that do the CO2 extraction. And so we'll be, featuring their videos and then offering the people who take those courses the opportunity to go to Apex and take their winterization courses. So we're trying to set up this sort of collaborative program. I would love to work with a university or a college in some way, shape, or form. I come from that world. That's the space I was in before I came here. But I'm trying personally with Leaf Medic to disrupt a little bit of what was going on before, because it's very expensive to get a degree in anything. And because of this space, there's a lot of fees all along the way. I tried very hard with this program to create something that was legitimate, academically valid and sound, tied directly into what's required per law and
accessible
regulations.
for
And
everybody.
accessible, exactly.
You know what I mean, not just a certain segment of people,
Right.
but the general status. If you really have a passion to get into it, you can actually learn, and it's not going to cost you like thousands of dollars to try and just get in.
That was my goal, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of an idealist in a lot of ways, and so this project is kind of an idealist project in that I thought, okay, people in remote areas of the state who don't want to get in their car and travel someplace for school, they could do it on their phone.
Yep.
If you're living in an agricultural community, you're a hemp farmer, you want to try and get into the space in some way, or you want to get a job at a cultivation center. Our program isn't designed for the cultivation employment specifically, but we do have the ability to build a program like that. And so anyway, the whole point is that over time, my hope is that we are able to partner with segments of the population that have been excluded from participation so far. And I would really like to get involved with, in Michigan, the social equity program and any kind of emancipation or expungement projects that take place in either state. Because what I would like to see happen is for people who have loved this plant a long time, have loved it in secret, have maybe even suffered the way that...
Sorry about that. That was my kids.
Oh, that's okay. What I was really hoping to do was to help people who have been excluded from participation in the legal program for a long time, but who have been loving the plant in black market context. As the laws change, as the records expungement happens, I would love to see more people be able to take skills and abilities, practices that they've been doing for a long time, and sort of use my program to convert that into something legitimate, so that they can go in and say, I no longer have a criminal record, I have this experience, and look, I have completed this training without taking out student loans.
And so that really does, like, it really clears the playing field and makes it even for everyone, especially those people that had vested interest when it was when prohibition, the second prohibition was really like implemented, and those people that are just now getting off of all of those past issues from the prohibition that's now lifted. That's a great thing, that it's a great thing to be able to actually change your life and add to the betterment of society. Period.
And when you've known how to do something well for a long time, and you've had to hide that you had that skill, it's like asset building for your community to have people who are like, okay, finally I can come out and say, I know how to make these infused foods that have helped all of my relatives, all these years with whatever. I can now talk about it. I can now maybe even make some money doing it. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just, I have lots, like I said, I'm sort of a utopian, I'm an idealist, and I've come into this space bringing that with me and hoping that, the more of these kinds of ancillary services that come up in the industry, we have more opportunities for more people to have points of entry.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Being that you guys are accredited in Michigan and accredited in Ohio, there's a big difference between the medicinal states and the recreational states. So just how does that really break down when you're, explaining what people can actually get offered with being with Leaf Medics? Because I would think that would be like a big part of it, because you're actually giving them training in the rec side or in the medicinal side, because there is still medicinal in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. So when all the recreational runs out, those folks that have those debilitating diseases that really need it still are able to get their medicine. So if you could expand on that.
So the way that Michigan's a very different program than Ohio's. In a lot of ways, the story I like to tell is that I feel like if you think of cannabis as this beautiful sort of lamp, like on Aladdin, the story of Aladdin, and it's, you can rub the lamp and let the genie out, or let multiple genies out. In Ohio, they were like, well, rub the lamp, we'll let small parts of the genie slowly come out.
A little bit of smoke.
His head comes out, then his arm, and you're like, okay, look at this, he can do this much, and that's all.
Right.
Michigan was like, cannabis, cool, rub the lamp, all the genies out, caregivers, you can raise it over here, you can give it to this person. Everything was so sort of, how should I say it, just free-for-all in a lot of ways. And I'm not necessarily against that in a lot of ways. I feel like that was a great opportunity for everyday people to grow their own medicine, and I'm totally not against home grow, so please don't think that that's what I'm
No,
saying.
no, no.
But with Michigan, they started having some negative consequences, some health consequences, some problems with consistency of product. And in a medical program, you need to know specifically what you're getting and that it's going to be the same each time, because people who are looking for it to satisfy a particular ailment or a symptom, resolve a symptom, they need to make sure they're getting the same thing. If you went in to get Tylenol and you accidentally got speed one time, you'd be like, whoa, I'm productive with a headache, instead of my headache's gone, people don't want that. They don't want it from their pharmaceuticals, they don't want it from their cannabis. So Michigan's trying to shove some genies back in the bottle, or back in the lamp, and they're trying to kind of figure out how to get control of it. In Michigan, there are more and more license applications being submitted in different municipalities that chose to participate in the adult use program. And so we have joined in one provisioning center. That is what they call dispensaries in Michigan. They call them provisioning centers. One applicant in Pontiac, and I got to kind of comb Pontiac's rules, their municipal rules, because unlike Ohio, you can make your own rules within the adult use program in Michigan. So you can't open up things further than what the state has as their base, but if you would like to require more things of your participants, you can. So for example, in Pontiac, they require training and education, training for employees and education for patients, to a more extensive degree than the general program does in Michigan. So we were included in license applications there for an adult use market. But the foundation of an adult use program, really, if we're going to be honest, is generally similar to a medical program in the sense that the person, the customer who walks into a provisioning center or a dispensary in an adult use program, the reason why they're coming to a legal place to buy it is because there's certain things they're looking for. They want information, they want informed sales staff that can help them make informed decisions. They want to know for certain a certification of some kind that like what it says it is.
And it's clean.
Exactly. You know, what's in it is what's in it, not something else as well. And they want to, what I call, curate their use. Meaning, if I go in, why I'm asking you all of those details about what you have is because I want to know when I want to use it. I don't want to use the wrong thing at the sleepy time or at the wake time, or I'm trying to teach and all I can do is like think that I just want to lay down. You know, that's the lifestyle I live. So I want, even if I wasn't a medical patient, as just a user, I would be like, yeah, I want to know what I'm getting and use it how I want to use it. So my prediction for the future of a legal adult use program is that it is going to be fundamentally in the long run more high-end products. When I say high-end, I mean there's going to be more information. There's going to be chemovars and cultivars that are curated specifically for outcomes that people are looking for. This is my prediction. So back to your question, I think that the training that we offer in both Ohio and Michigan for medical bud tenders, there will be, and we can add to it and are in the process of adding to it, to include how you would convert some of those same conversations into adult use customer service. So I really think that's what people are going to do with adult use. They're not going to just be like, I just want to be high 24/7, as high as I can possibly be.
Because traditionally folks would just be like, man, just give me an indica.
Exactly.
Or just give me a sativa. And it's like, well, there's more that goes with that.
Yes.
You know, there's hybrids that have a little bit more of one than they have of the other, and then there's some that have a lot less of both, and then more CBD because maybe it can help you do for folks that have fibromyalgia or folks that have like the type of issue with joint pain, and you know, it really does like make a difference actually having an actual true information about what you're taking. And
absolutely. And indica sativa, you know, all of that sort of, I would like to call it folk information or folk medicine that's been around for a long time. And that sounds condescending. I'm an anthropologist by training, and I don't mean that to be, I mean that in a sort of academic sense. It's folk in the sense that it's knowledge that people have constructed based upon their own experiences over time and shared with one another. It's not necessarily in books in the same way that we would, you know, think about. When we talk about indica and sativa, we're talking about different terpene and cannabinoid profiles and how they have historically impacted groups of people.
Yes.
So they're not bad terms,
no, they're not
but
bad
we
terms.
are like so fortunate we're moving beyond that. We have more information that's available.
Just like you said, if you want to be able to know like really what you're putting inside of your body and how it's affecting those different areas in your
Yes.
body. It's more or less you really need to be educated on that, and you need to know that what you're putting in is actual what it says on the label, because
Yes.
you can actually read the label as opposed to just getting a big sack.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's just more, it's more to it. It's more to it. And definitely in 2020 and with what's going on with the Ohio Medical Marijuana Program, you definitely want to make sure that whatever you're taking is regulated so you know what it is, you know, for the most part.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, I've been part of the unregulated part of it as well, just to take in some of those things. And sometimes you'll take something and say, oh man, it's not really what I was really looking for, and it's like, well, you're kind of stuck with what you get.
Absolutely.
You know? So,
And that, I think, as the dispensaries in Ohio, in our medical program here, begin to get more and more product, I think that what I hope we see happening more and more is like patient reviews of the products, so that then we can have patient conversations with one another, maybe in a digital space, or even, you know, community groups that get together. They're like, hey, what are you liking? What are you not? I know I can't really predict how that would work over time, but I do think that this kind of community of users needs to evolve so that patients are able to understand a little bit more, because a lot of physicians, there are some amazing physicians in Ohio that have dedicated themselves to this program, to seeing it launch, to seeing patients get great care, and I love these people so much. I love them. They're not just doctors, there's nurses, there's nurse practitioners. I've met so many of them, and I feel like they're the heroes, because there are entire hospital systems in our state that have said, I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
If you want to work here, you can't talk about it, you can't use it, you can never use it as a matter. I mean, think about that. All these nurses that lift big people around and hurt themselves, and they can take some Tylenol. They're not allowed to use it. You know, and some doctors are not even allowed to like see patients who use it. There have been so many cases of patients who they were on pain meds, prescription pain medications. They go to a pain management doctor. When they started to then go to a certified to recommend doctor and get their cannabis, their pain doctor said no more pain meds. Well, that's breaking somebody very quickly off of something that that could have negative consequences. And
it's equivalent to cold turkey.
Yeah. So all of that, I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit too much, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, first of all, I really appreciate the medical professionals in Ohio that are dedicating themselves, and I thank you so much. Big total. And I also think that as more products become available, patients are going to need to sort of take some of this into their own hands in terms of really learning how to use this medicine. So what would happen if we had national legalization? I still think you're going to need patients to be educated.
You're still going to have to be educated, because
imagine going into Kroger, you know that yogurt wall that you see when you go into the grocery store, a Meijer, and there's yogurt, you're like, oh, just grab some yogurt. Then you go into the yogurt aisle and you're like, holy, like it's drinkable, it's organic, it's baby, it's banana with all the 1,000 of other flavors, it's strawberry, it's with sugar, without sugar, it's Greek style, and you scratch your head and you think, how did this happen? How do we have so many yogurts? Well, I know that's being silly, but I see that happening with cannabis eventually. Think of the varieties of things we can have, and patients are going to need to figure out for themselves what works the best.
What really works. All right. Well, man, this has been very, very informative. Let people know how they can get information about Leaf Medics, and how they can get involved and get those certificates and start getting the word out.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you have any interest in training or education in Ohio or Michigan in the cannabis space, please go to mmjtraining.com. That's our website. We have a Michigan site as well, which is michigan.mmjtraining.com, and you can bounce back and forth between them. That's where you can learn about our education programs, our training programs. And you can also learn about Cannabis Nurse, which is our medical CEU and patient education program that is administered by Kathleen Graham out of Michigan. So that's cannabisnurse.com as well.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for advocating with the best in the biz.
Yes.
Great ideas and wellness.